All right, guys, today we have Asim here. Well, Asim has me here today. So thank you for arranging this. I know we had to reschedule this a couple times, but we made it work. You're a busy man. Thanks for taking out the time. How are you today, sir?
We always make it work. I'm glad to have you with
Thank
me,
you.
Raj.
That's the attitude I really love about you, bro. When we met the first time as well, we'll make it work,
We'll always make it
right?
work.
We'll figure it
100%.
out. We'll make it work. That's the go-getter attitude.
Right. So there's a Chinese proverb: if you've taken the first step,
Yeah,
you've already reached your destination.
100%.
So the moment we talk about something, we've already started, planting the seeds,
Exactly.
and we've taken that first step.
Action is what determines what will happen next, right? A
Exactly.
lot of people just talk about things
Right.
and they don't materialize is because it's all talk.
Right.
So even when you take baby steps towards whatever your goals are, then you start reaching that. So
Exactly.
that's excellent.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's why we're here today, so talk more about that. I have a couple questions for you. And I guess this is the attitude behind $1 billion in mortgages funded just last year alone, correct?
And that's
So,
correct.
Yeah. So first of all, again, big congratulations to you to what you've created in a very short period of time. Why don't we do a quick introduction? So obviously people that know you, they know you. But since I'm going to be sharing this as well, people that don't know you, who is Asim in like 10, 15 seconds?
Yeah, so Asim is your mortgage broker, of course, but Asim is someone who's made it really quickly in this industry by putting, his main goal was to be better at his craft.
Right.
He knew, success, growth, money, that's all the byproduct of, hard
Absolutely.
work,
Absolutely.
and eventually you'll get it. But everything was based on honing your craft, and I still believe in that till this day.
That's excellent, brother. So how long have you been in this business now?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
So barely 6 years. Well, a
Wow.
bit over 6 years, put it this way.
So correct me if I'm wrong. Within this short period of time, you've been the top 4, I think, mortgage brokers in the country.
With the stats being rolled out, I anticipate that's where I'm going to end up being.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Yeah.
That is excellent, bro. I'm super proud of you. I still remember meeting you when I was brand new. This is going back like 4 years. We had a very quick meeting, but we couldn't do business because I was brand new. I had no business. But now that we're in a position where we do business together, I'm glad to be sitting here right next to you.
Yeah,
So,
it's amazing to see. You
Yeah.
literally just did exactly what I did, probably even better, But when I look at you and where you were and where you are right now, we were fortunate enough to share stage in front of,
correct.
a
Correct.
humongous crowd recently.
Yes.
And
Yes.
when I saw your name, I said, it's got to be there,
Yeah.
He,
Yeah.
he is the motivation for the new agents coming into the
No,
industry.
appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. I love giving back now because I've reached a point in my career where I can confidently say that, you know what, if you're feeling lost, give me a call. If we can work together, if I can help you in any way, I would love to do that. Because that was honestly my biggest challenge. I did not have the direction in my business, so I kept feeling lost, not knowing what to do. But after a lot of hit and trial, falling down many times, getting up the same number of times I fell down, it helped me achieve the success that I have now. And this is nothing, man. We're just starting out. It's just a start. And obviously there's, more goals that I need to crush. I have big dreams, and I'm sure you do as well.
Yeah, so I think
Yeah.
what you just said, I always say this, the relentless pursuit to success,
The resilience, yeah.
the resilience, doesn't
Yes.
matter what happens, you just don't give up. You believe in
Absolutely.
yourself, and you believe in, what others have accomplished before you,
Right.
and you just don't give up. That's
Right.
essentially what it is at the end of the day, right?
Absolutely.
And so I think, with giving back, what you just said, that's where I created a brokerage.
Right.
It was like, okay, I've done it, but you can only do so much
Right.
being an individual and putting together your own team. So how about I pass on the knowledge to others and hopefully see
Exactly.
them succeed, right?
Yes.
So it's a win-win model for all of us, and that's what I'm fully focused towards at the moment.
That is correct. There's the stage that we shared last week with Doug and Ralph. There's one thing that you said that really touched me, which was create a win-win environment for everybody, right?
Right.
Which is what really differentiates you from other people.
Right.
That is, people, for example, problems come in every business, challenges accompany every big business or even a small business for that
Right.
fact, right? But if you look at problems and you dwell on that, you get more problems,
Exactly.
right? But if you
Right.
focus on solutions, solution-oriented nature
Right.
brings you solutions.
100%. I think, you touched on a very important point. I
Yeah.
always talk to my team, and they'll tell me, hey, we can't do this file. And I was
Right.
like, well, how about we look at the approach? How can we do this file?
Exactly.
Right? There may be a way. There may be an exception. There may be a persuasion. And our business is done more so of relationships than
Exactly.
actually numbers. Yeah, numbers are important, but it's the character. It's the how well the underwriter knows you, your type of business, your clients.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's the understanding of the overall picture on that file which really
Right.
gets us through the finish line, right? So yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah. Giving up after just one attempt,
Yeah,
not enough.
yeah, not
Right.
enough, not enough.
So talking about that, let's take a step back. Actually, Seem, I remember that you also shared your story. Obviously, I know your story before you came into mortgages, just very briefly. And I'm not asking this so that we can show off or anything, but this is just to motivate people that really look up to you. What were you doing before you stepped into mortgages, and then what made you make this transition full time?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's a very simple story. I was a debt collector. Not a lot of people can say that,
Yeah.
but being a debt collector gave me an edge by talking to people over the phone
Right.
who didn't want to pay their bills, and
Yeah.
just pushing them to essentially, or showing them value why they need to pay their bills. And during that process, I purchased my first home,
Right.
went through a bank, got turned down, went through two people, had service related issues,
Right.
came back to the same bank with a different individual who was a bit more, they call it the word creative, but he just know the policies a bit better,
Makes
and he
sense.
was able to get an exception for me.
Right.
And I was able to buy this home. So that is sort of inspired me.
Yeah.
The day I'm going to quit my job, I'm going to become a mortgage broker.
Right.
And so there's been a small, deviation
Right.
once I quit my job, but eventually I became what I wanted to do.
Right. Two things you said that I want to talk more about. Number one, you said value, create value, which is, I think, the biggest secret sauce that a lot of newer agents or even brokers look for. That, hey, Asim, what are you doing in your business that you are $1 billion broker? Now, there's a lot of zeros in a billion. So, that's the answer. Give value first, then
Right.
ask for something in return.
Right.
Second thing you said, service. Service should be before the sale.
Right.
Because if there's no service, you can't really expect the sale to go anywhere anyways, right? So
Right.
I think those are the principles or pillars of your business, which is why you are where you are today. And from my understanding, you have two different firms. One is private lending, and
And
one
it's
is
called Seven Lending. Yes.
seven lending. So what does these two different businesses, what do they cater to?
Yeah. So what we realized was, I think over time that all clients, there's three different type of clients based on their financing needs in a given period,
Right.
or different type of properties. Would require different type of solutions.
Right.
So we decided we're gonna separate them rather than try to do all sorts of financing under one umbrella.
Makes sense.
We separated the private lending arm from the conventional lending arm. So the conventional lending arm mostly gets done under royalty,
Right.
and then the private lending arm, became Seven Lending, where we have a significant number of private lenders, individual investors, mix,
Right.
who will offer better terms and conditions
Right.
because of our volume. So we funnel that business through that channel.
Makes sense. And just taking two steps back to the same conversation about your personal file. So this one question I want to ask him, $1 billion broker, what was your age when you bought your first property?
I was 24.
That's pretty young. Yeah.
Yeah, fairly
And-
young. Yeah, especially for someone buying a detached home at that age.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was the only one in my friend circle. So
Nice.
yeah,
Nice. So you became an anchor and a motivator for, of course, a lot of your friends, family, and your
100%,
circle
yeah.
as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and of course, that changed everything because then you realize that this is something that I want to do for the rest of my life, and you step right into it.
100%.
Right.
So I joke with the individual who actually got me approved. Now that the day he quits the bank, he's going to come join me. He's been with the bank for almost like 15, 20 years, so he's
Right.
comfortable where he is. And but my point is that no, he inspired me. The process inspired me, because I realized at the moment I was turned on by these three other people, or the service was an issue with them,
Right.
with a couple of them, I realized there's a massive opportunity in this business.
Right.
And it was like a moment for me, when can I start? So, but we have bills, we're comfortable, we're,
Right.
moving up the ladder in that corporate culture.
Right.
So it was just like, I'll do it next month, next year.
And that
you know.
next month never
Yeah.
comes, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's one question I get a lot because I was in a full-time job as well. I was a manager at the airport for quite some time. Started at the bottom as a screening officer at the airport, then moved up in the company. I was getting pretty comfortable, but I always knew that I'm meant for more. right? So a lot of people that are watching this, of course, these bills are hanging on our heads, mortgages, car payments, and then kids happen, and then this happens, and then that happens. Uh, what would you say to people that are on the verge of making that decision and are not able to do that just because they're comfortable? What should be their factor for them to take that leap of faith?
Yeah, so good question, Raj. We all had our whys. I remember your
Exactly.
why was, your dad's passing,
Right.
and so we all had our whys,
Right.
and they need their why too. If they don't
Fair.
have a why, if they don't have a motivation,
Right.
the likelihood of them succeeding is very little because they won't give it their all, right? They won't dive right in.
Right.
They'll always have like a full-time position as a to fall back on, or a part-time role to fall back on.
Well said.
So those are the reasons I see most brokers don't succeed, or most realtors don't succeed,
Right.
because
Because they're comfortable.
they're comfortable. They don't have the ability to dive right in.
So would it be right to say that if your back is against the wall, you're automatically self-motivated because you know that you have no other options?
Either your back is against the wall, or either you've sort of burned your own bridges, and you
Right.
don't want to look back. You just want to move forward,
Right.
and you make that determination. So that's your why,
Right.
right? There's got to be the reasoning why you want to succeed, but then you have to have your why. So somebody could be self-determined too,
Right.
without being their wall, with their back pushed against the wall. But my point is,
Right.
at the end of the day, we all need some sort of a why.
Definitely. And I think that's a big factor why these people that are very, very successful, like yourself, they have found their why at the right time and it pushed them to do what they did. But on the contrary, a lot of people struggle with this, man. And I talk to a lot of people on a daily basis because of my marketing company as well. Uh, there's nothing wrong with having a job. You know, having a job was basically my, you can say, brick network or whatever, because of which my business grew, right?
Right.
So having a 9 to 5, nothing wrong with that, man. Have a 9 to 5, start something on the side. You can always transition smoothly as well, but remembering your why, right?
Exactly. Yeah, remembering your why, and yeah, nothing wrong with having a job
Yeah,
on the side. Absolutely agree with you. I think you should make that transition at some point.
correct.
It can't be 5 years down the road, because
Right,
now we start training our
right,
subconscious brains, or 10 years down the road, because we get we become wired a certain way, or we develop
right,
certain habits. So I think
correct.
it's the earlier it's done, the better.
Right,
But I agree with you. Sometimes you need that fallback. As long as you
right.
have that why,
Yeah,
and you're going to reach that why within a very short period of time, then go for it.
right. Another thing that when I talk to these people, I always ask them this one question. You are starting a new business. Do you have a business plan? A lot of people say, what is a business plan? Right? So then I tell them, man, if you don't plan your work, how are you going to work anyways?
Exactly.
Right?
Right. Yeah.
So what's the element in your business? Do you do your business planning like quarterly, annually? How does that work for some people that want to reach the heights that you have touched? What recommendation or advice do you have for brokers that are doing good, but they want to do better? So what can they implement in their, even realtors, we have a very similar business, even realtors, what can they incorporate into their businesses so that they can elevate?
Yeah, 100%. So, I think you've got to have a routine at the end of the day, right? And that routine, then you got to believe in some core values,
Right,
write them down.
right.
You're talking about quarterly or yearly. I'm talking about daily, right?
Nice.
Going
I
through
like
them
that.
every morning. And,
Excellent.
even after you wake up, you had your breakfast,
Right.
took shower, went to the gym, did your mediation.
Yeah.
You should look at your core values.
Right.
And, then, yeah, that's how your day should be funneled, not even on a monthly or weekly basis,
That's very
or
good
a
tip.
quarterly basis. Yeah, I think we could get into that quarterly and annual basis when we are doing numbers like mine and yourself, right? So
Right.
those are the big meetings we do, and we look at the
Right.
data,
Yeah.
where we're at, where we want to be, and so forth and so on. But for someone starting out,
Yeah.
it's got to be 5 basic core values.
Right.
Okay, I want to reach this target. I want to make that many phone calls each day. I want to set up that many appointments each day, right? Whatever
Right.
that looks like.
Mhm.
So yeah, have it very simple and straightforward.
That's excellent. And I remember when I was struggling with my own business, I did a transition from being in marketing full time, still do marketing, but then got super busy with real estate. And one of the biggest reasons was I broke down my daily goals into like smaller things that are easy to digest and that are easy to do. Instead of me,
100%.
instead of me
Yeah.
thinking that, hey, how am I going to do 10 deals every month? I broke it down to, well, you know what? That's 2 deals a week. Now, if I want to do 2 deals a week, how many people do I need to talk to on a daily basis?
Exactly, exactly. And it's a
Right?
numbers game. If you really look at it, it's
Yeah.
it's literally a numbers game.
Right.
Yeah, someone who's starting out may make 20 phone calls and might not end up getting, a single listing appointment.
Right.
But once you've made many,
Right.
it becomes a numbers game at the end of the day.
Volume. And you just have to get started somewhere, like you said, go to a couple appointments, fail,
Exactly.
fall down, get up
Exactly.
again. Right?
Exactly. So, I want to ask you something about
Sure,
yourself,
man.
Raj.
Of course.
I learned about you a lot over this short period of your career, and
Yeah.
you've done amazing things with the numbers you posted. And now with this marketing team, where you're helping other realtors do extremely well.
Right.
Let's go back to 5 years ago or 10 years ago. Tell me briefly about how you started off and how you got into this business.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you for asking. And I would love to share that. I was always, of the mindset that I want to run my own hours, have my own schedule per se. And then I mentally struggled with this that, hey, if I get into a business, I'm actually working 24/7, not 8 hours a day. So that was my biggest challenge with myself. Do I want to create a life for myself when I'm always working? But I always knew working these jobs, typical story, you did a couple 9 to 5s, then, moved up the ladder. And then I wasn't just satisfied. I knew that something is missing in my life. And that something was the satisfaction that comes from creating something yourself. So that's what really pushed me into looking into these avenues. That's why I enrolled myself in the marketing school. And I've always been passionate about marketing, right? Like I started with editing graphics
Right.
for real estate agents, like putting some like just listed, open house, those kind of slides. That's how it really started because my dad, before he passed away, he had some friends that were involved in real estate. And I would just do things to help them out, right? And then when I saw what kind of commission checks they make, I realized that this is something that could be a good path, right? And again, being passionate about marketing, I learned a couple of things that being in the real estate business is more like you're in the marketing business, really, because if you don't market the product you have properly, you can never make that sale, right? So that basically what helped me transition into this business. And then during that time, funny we talk about this, tomorrow is actually going to be the death anniversary for my father, taking the full day off, no phone calls. But anyways,
Yeah, I'm sorry
going
to
back
hear
to that time, it's okay, bro. Talking about that a little bit, actually, I used to feel very sorry about myself as well, that why did this happen with me? But then when I started talking to other people that have gone through the same phase, I realized it's going to happen with everybody, man.
100%.
Right?
I'm
I'm
and
going to
happened
die
to
one
me
day.
too. 100%.
You're not
yeah.
going to be here forever.
Yeah,
And everybody
absolutely.
watching this, listening this, you're not going to be here forever either.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
This is where rent. This is the lease.
Exactly.
This we have a lease which will expire one day.
Exactly. When my
And,
dad passed away, I thought I was invincible.
Yeah.
And the moment he passed away, I thought, no, none of us are invincible.
Exactly.
Things happen to just people
Exactly.
like me and you.
So going back to 5 years, when this happened, this mindset switch actually encouraged me. Like the worst thing in my life has already happened, right? Now if I go into this running my business full time, what else can happen? Yeah, I racked up some debt. I paid it off, right? All that. And I got married while I was in debt. My wife is super supportive of me. So if you have the right company around you, right people to push you, you can achieve things that you haven't even thought that you would.
Right. So those were your whys.
Basically, yeah, to provide for my family, to provide for myself, and to set something up where I'm actually content with,
Right.
waking up every day and being excited about going to work and not being sluggish or not being like, oh, I got to do this again, right? My
So-
reason was that I
yeah.
woke up. That's good enough.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. And something you said stood out. You said you had this marketing background.
right.
So you had this exposure before you came into the real estate market,
Correct.
which definitely helped you excel. And I see that quite often with a lot of entrepreneurs, people who are walking into a new industry. They had some exposure. So
Right.
do you believe, because now you're on a different scale and you're talking to a lot more agents and you're marketing for them and doing all sorts of various things,
Right.
do you realize that everybody requires some sort of exposure, whether that's a job exposure, that some event, and that sort of exposure, whether that's a job exposure or business exposure?
Right.
Yeah.
It definitely helps, but I believe that more than exposure, what's more important is you have to be really passionate about what you do, and then you will figure out a way to expose yourself to run that business or to run that service-based, whatever you're doing, right? So, for example, somebody who loves, baking, right? There's this story of Just Cakes. It's something that started out of somebody's basement, I think, or their mom's house or whatever, and now they're in like every major distribution network, right? And why? Because they were passionate about baking. And look
Right.
what they've done for themselves. They've created a multiple six-figure, even maybe a seven-figure company now, right? So it just comes from your passion. If you're not passionate, I mean, you can't help people that don't want to be helped.
Right.
Right? So you've got to have that passion, that fire. And I guess that comes back to what you said, the why. If you have a why, you will figure out a way to get exposure. And yes, if you're involved in, in the niche or the business that you want to go in, and in some way of, in some kind or any form, in any format, it definitely allows you to see the ins and outs of that business before you enter. And then, especially when you're dealing with somebody, for example, you go to a barber and you're getting a haircut, you're passionate about being a barber, and you think to yourself, I can do a better job at this, then you
Right.
probably can.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So it's just one of those things that
Actually, yeah, you said it very elegantly. You do require passion more than exposure.
Yeah.
And I remember, that collections job, debt
Yeah.
collector job,
Yeah.
I was very passionate about. I started on
There.
the floor,
Yeah.
the corporate office, the building it was in, the environment it had.
Right.
And I come onto the floor and right away, I'm competing against all these other collectors in there.
Right.
And my goal is to, so I'm passionate about this role, and
Right.
my goal is to outlearn them, right?
Yes.
Do better than them,
Exactly. Exactly.
And so, yeah, you have to be passionate. Exposure comes along even if you don't have the, if you didn't have it before. So we see that often now, right? I remember coaching a 21, 22-year-old broker
Right.
who didn't had exposure before,
Right.
or a few others now who've done extremely well because
Right.
of their age. They just haven't gone through different job roles, and they're
Right.
just starting out a
Exactly.
self-employed career, but they come in and they take the industry by the horn. So yeah.
Right. Well, that could be because you're training them as well. That could be a big reason, because they've got a very good mentor and a very good coach. That makes a huge difference. Talking about that mentoring and coaching, I've just recently started actually coaching other realtors as well through the marketing program,
Right.
which I take a lot of pride in, and I say it very humbly. I don't coach them to tell them, oh, I've done more than you or whatever. It's just I can share what I have done with you, and I can
Right.
learn from you as well. So, and I'm sure that you keep the same mindset where you're still learning every day, still learning new, strategies to
100.
elevate your
Yeah,
team to yourself.
absolutely, absolutely. You have to be different, right? Than the rest. I think we learned that in that Doug and Rolf's training.
Right.
How could you be different? And I think your difference was coming from a background of marketing.
Right.
Knowing that as end of things, and that sort of elevated your game. And
Right.
we see that. Sometimes a realtor might have a developer uncle.
Right.
Someone who's bought and sold some investment properties.
Leverage. Figure out your leverage.
Exactly. Or they know someone else, in the industry, or they have some sort of other, entanglements or,
Exactly.
So my point is, it helps you grow in the industry, having that for sure.
That's a good point that you have actually just said, figuring out your leverage, right? So your leverage, from what I'm hearing, is that you were in that debt collector role. So you were obviously talking with many different kinds of people and talking about the worst thing possible, which is their debts, right? And I remember you telling me that you were number one. And,
in that collection agency.
and you were able to collect debt faster than anybody else.
Absolutely.
So what was Asim saying on the phone that's making people pay their dues that they haven't paid in a long time? Now all of a sudden they talk to Asim Ali,
Right.
and they're ready to pay.
So good question. So I realized one thing, these people often are in collections because they don't have the ability to pay.
Right.
Or they don't want to pay their debt.
Like
because
they've given
have
up. They're like,
they've given up. They've
Yeah.
got some sort of a dispute with these companies and
Right.
whatnot, right? So you have to create value. But in order for me to create value, I would have to keep them engaged over the phone for some
and these
time.
are complete strangers, right?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
right. So I think first things first, you want to be, just the art of communication, getting someone hooked to that phone call,
Right.
for longer than they wish.
Yeah.
And then in that, you sort of go over the, reviewing their credit bureaus and going over how it would benefit them or
Right.
how it could affect them
In the long run.
in the long run, because they have homes
Yeah.
and there could be liens registered against their properties and
Right.
whatnot. And, we're just trying to avoid that situation. So it's not going to get any better. If anything, if they keep it, if they keep their eyes closed, it's just going to one day come and hit them hard.
Right.
So, but I guess it was very simple sort of call. Hey, Raj. And Raj was like,
Yeah, let's
yes,
do a call. Let's do a call.
absolutely,
Yeah. Sure,
So
let's do
it was never like,
Yeah.
computer talking. Hey, Raj, this is Asim calling from
person
Allied
behind the
International
conversation.
Credit.
Yeah.
So by the time Raj goes click,
Yeah.
oh, and a collection agency, right?
Right.
Because Raj's sort of anticipating that already.
Correct.
So it was more so of like, hey, Raj, yes. hey, this is Seem from AIC. I'm just calling in regards to your Rogers bill,
Right.
which is affecting your credit bureau. I just saw your score has gone down or is about to go down. And see, I've done my pitch by that time.
You've got my attention now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
this person is,
Yeah.
or I see or you have a home, and I'm just letting you know we're just collecting on behalf of Rogers, but eventually, or on behalf of the government, right, for student loans or whatnot. So I would hook them, tell them the reality of things, and sort of keep them on that call. After the call is done, they understand what's going to happen if they
Right.
don't, pay out this debt. The
Right.
interest will keep piling up. Eventually, they'll have to pay it, but there could be significant legal fees involved or something else.
Right.
So, and plus, their bureaus will be damaged by then, right?
Damn,
So,
bro,
yeah.
you're made for this, man. You were born to do this. That's excellent. I mean, we just talked about this 10 minutes ago. You just started the call with value. That, hey, this is what's happening. You didn't say, hey, I'm Asim, the number one guy here, or from this and that. You said, hey, Raj, your credit score is going to go down if you don't listen to this call carefully. Subconsciously, my attention is now all yours because now I want to hear what's going to happen next, right? Which is what I don't have any debts right now. I hope I never have any debts. But if I did, after this discussion, I would walk out and pay it right now.
You should.
So that's excellent. This is a free training for anybody watching. When you start your phone calls, you're talking to complete strangers, start with value first. Everything else
100%.
becomes automatic.
100%. And I think, a lot of agents, brokers will ask me, Asim, should I use a script? I said, you can for the first 5, 10, 15, 20 calls.
Yes.
But the sooner you get off the script, the better, because, you're not talking to robots, you're talking to people.
Exactly.
And just make that phone call. This is not a difficult business if you think about it.
Correct.
We're not debt collectors now.
Yeah.
We're not calling people to pay off their debts. We're providing value.
Yes.
Raj, you're selling homes.
Yeah.
People need homes. They're buying homes because they're paying rent somewhere, or they're upgrading to a better property, or they're doing an investment
Right.
for them. So you're providing significant value if you
Right.
really think about it.
Yeah.
As a broker, we're putting them in lower interest rates, mortgages. We're cleaning up their credit card debt. We're getting them into their dream homes and their business ventures. So my point is, you're providing value. The moment you know that, right, and you believe in that, that's when you can then, align that call and make that phone call, and people will pay attention to you.
Excellent point. Another thing I want to point out, you said believe in yourself, right? And I was asked the same question at that seminar. Would you work with somebody who doesn't believe in themselves? I want you to give me your feedback on that.
Would I work with someone who does not believe in themselves? I don't think so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Because if you don't believe in yourself, how do you expect me to believe in you?
Exactly. Yeah.
Right?
100%.
Yeah.
That's the most basic thing, a person needs to have.
Right.
Is self-belief, because we see people who have self-belief then become passionate later on.
Right.
And and they can literally take the industry by by surprise. But if you can't even believe in yourself, then that's a non-starter.
Exactly.
For sure.
You can go to Starbucks and buy belief.
Exactly.
You can buy a coffee, but you
Yeah.
can't buy that, right?
Yeah.
So that's a huge point that you've made here. Confidence, I think, comes from belief. There's a big difference between being confident and overconfident.
Right.
And some people do get overconfident when they reach heights in their careers. And we just want to always be reminded of our beginnings, where we came from, staying humble. Because if we start to point things out at people that have made who we are, we're not going to succeed anymore.
Exactly. Yeah. 100%. I think you said it very beautifully. At the end of the day, if you stay humble, you're learning, you're growing.
Right.
Right. And the moment you think you got it all, your downfall has already begun.
Started. Exactly.
So I think it's for some of us who've reached that milestone.
Right.
We all have our wake up calls.
Yes.
And I mean, if someone talks to you, I don't see a stick. I never see that you're that guy who's trying to portray that I've done this, right.
Right.
And so I see that similarity in a lot of successful people.
Right.
Right. They never talk about how rich they are, or how much they've got in their life. It's more so about value, how their work ethic, or they're trying to give back to the community more than anything else.
Right. I actually, just to point out on that, another agent I was talking to, your agent, he asked me, you guys sell 100 million a year now annually. What's next for you? Like, just continue doing what we're doing and to scale more. But that shouldn't be what you should be comparing yourself with, because you're just starting out. My first year in business, I sold like 2 million. right?
Exactly.
So just stay humble. And there's guys that sell 1,000 million a year, man. So I'm
Exactly.
nothing. I'm a nobody,
100%. Yeah. Someone
So,
asked me, what
yeah,
did you do when you did your 100 million? What did you do
right.
when you did 200,
Yeah,
300? And I said, nothing. And they said, how
exactly.
come?
Yeah,
And the answer was like, I'm sure I could do much better than that. There's a lot
exactly.
of guys who are pushing better numbers than I am.
Exactly. Yeah,
And I look up to them, I admire them, and I give
yeah,
them props.
yeah.
But then I ask myself this question, well, if they've done it, how can I do it?
Yes.
And the answer is always the same. Asim, they're better than you in their work ethic. They're better than you in their, handling of their teams, or they're better than you with their clients. They're
There's a
better,
lot to learn
yeah,
always.
100%,
Yeah.
right? So they're better than me in a lot of aspects. And
Right.
then I ask myself, am I going to beat them,
Yeah.
right? And it's not more so of coming from the, from the mindset of, am I better than them? No, it's coming so just challenging myself, and asking
Beautiful.
myself that, can I be just like them or better than them? And I set
Excellent.
that goal
Yeah.
each and every day.
Right.
Yeah,
And which is an excellent point again. Your competition is yourself.
exactly.
Don't try to compete with people that have already made it or people that are on the top, because there's
Right.
a reason they're there, obviously. Instead, try to learn from them,
Exactly.
right? And don't reinvent the wheel, recreate the
Right.
wheel. Look at what Elon Musk has done.
Right.
He technically did reinvent the wheel, and
Right.
his company took off, right?
Right.
And there's this, everybody, I've heard this from so many people,
But
don't
he was
reinvent
different,
the
right?
wheel.
He came with a
Exactly.
different approach. We're
Exactly.
talking about, somebody could start off in this business and try to be different.
Yes.
And that difference could be very, little things they're
Right.
doing differently than the rest of us.
Right.
It could be the way they communicate. It could be, the way they are enhance their, tech side of things. Maybe their CRM
Exactly.
systems, whatever that might be.
Right.
You just have to be slightly different than the rest of the
Right.
pack, and you'll always find a way to do well.
I think this difference comes from just being yourself, man.
Yeah.
I get this question from many agents that I speak to every day. Like, what do we do different from other agent in our office that is also using your services? So I get that a lot. Like, how do you overcome that, right? And I tell them very simple. I'm like, take a piece of pen and paper and write this down. And they're all hyped up at this point. What is this guy gonna give us that's gonna make us different? I'm like, are you ready to write this down? And they go, yes. I'm like, just be honest and be yourself. They're like, that's it? I'm like, yeah, that's all you really have to do to stand out and be different.
Right.
Don't
Right.
try to replicate somebody. Learn from them. Replicate their processes and systems, but be yourself. Stay
Right.
true to who you are, and that's what's going to differentiate you from the crowd, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So from here on, Raj, everything, I'm just amazed by, talking to you and learning about you,
Yeah.
how you've grown, what have you done in the last, few years, and so what's next? Where are we going from here?
We're going to continue doing what we're doing. Where we are going from here is helping more people do the same thing that we have done, and learning from other people that have achieved the level of success that I want to be at. And I think it's about hunger. I don't think I'm full yet. I don't think
Right.
I'm there yet, right? So I'm going to keep going and keep learning new things every day and see what
Knowing
comes
you,
my way.
I don't think that's ever going to happen, right? And it's not about
Yeah.
the money; it's more so about growth, for
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
And 100%, right? I don't think me and you can retire early.
Yeah, I don't want to,
We'll
man.
die. We'll die within
Exact-
5 years.
That
for
will be
sure.
the retirement.
Yeah.
That I'll stop working when I stop breathing,
Exactly.
right? So
Yeah.
and it's just because I have chosen a lifestyle. It doesn't. I don't feel like I'm not working right now. I'm having a great time having this conversation with you. But yeah, to a lot of people, this is work. To me, this is my passion. This is what I
Exactly.
love to do.
Right.
Right. And that's what truly starts to happen when you follow your passion and stop hearing about anybody else, what anybody has to say. I was told by a lot of people, just continue doing your job or find a better paying job. There's already 20,000 realtors out there even 5 years ago. How are you going to differentiate yourself? How are you going to make a mark in the market? I'm like, I don't need to make a mark in the market. I just need to make a mark in my own life that, hey, this is what I wanted to do. This is how I wanted to live, and I'm doing that. I'm not living like this or doing this to prove it to anybody that I'm doing this or doing that. It's just what I wanted personally, right?
Right. Yeah. You said that, you get, you touched an important point. I had a call from a broker earlier on who's joining the industry.
Right.
And, she asked me, Asim, what percentage of brokers succeed in this industry?
Yeah.
I said, not a big number,
Yeah.
but where do you see yourself? That was my question to her,
Yes.
right? And it was sort of like, she's like, I was like, do you see yourself in the top 5%,
Right.
1%, 10%, 20%? Where do you see yourself?
Right.
Right. And, she took a pause and she said, top 5%. I
Right.
said, well, we are 1% of the 1%,
Right.
and we have 1% brokers in our brokerage.
Correct.
So I think I need you to aim for 1% at the bare minimum
Excellent.
before we want to bring you on board. And
Right.
so that was and that's what it is. Where do you see yourself? If you
Shoot for the stars.
we talked about a self belief. If you
Yes.
believe in yourself, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Shoot for the stars. You'll maybe land on the clouds.
Exactly.
Right. So
So during your during your journey, do you had like a mentor who you looked up to, or just even a trainer or something along those lines?
I honestly learned from a lot of different people, right? I never really had an assigned coach or a mentor in my career so far, because again, I didn't need that external motivation. My bills were enough to motivate me to do better and better every day. And I have a very simple mindset, man. I just want to be better than I was yesterday, right? And that kept pushing me. Obviously, the downfalls, and I did have some help from the brokerage that I'm with or I was. There's always people that are doing better than you. And my whole approach was I would just call agents that are doing really, really good in their business. Hey, can I do marketing for you for free? I just want to learn from you. So this
Right.
is how I basically learned, by helping other people out, seeing what they're doing in their business, putting in my own sweat equity into just learning how their systems work. What do they say? How do they interact with people? This one person I follow a lot, I did take a coaching program, Ryan Serhant. He's one of the biggest real estate brokers in the world.
In New York, yeah.
Yeah, in New York.
Yeah.
So I follow his stuff a lot. I read his books and everything, and then I joined his private coaching program. So that's the only coaching program that I've really done and properly done, because first I could relate to him because of his story, because of his background, and that's the only coaching program that I've done. And yes, I do take help from time to time from people that are higher up in the business, just to learn what they're doing, for example, from yourself. And these tips, these strategies is what I implement in my business then to grow.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, at the end of the day, what I'm hearing and what I always say is your best friends are your pals in the industry.
Absolutely.
Right. And if you can pick up the phone,
Yeah.
call them and become friends with them.
Exactly.
Be thankful of their time,
Yeah.
but at the same time, learn from them is how you really grow. Right.
Exactly.
We see this in the broker world.
Yeah.
And this is exactly what I did. Just what you just said.
Right.
I didn't have a mentor, didn't have a coach,
Right.
but I would pick up the phone and I would call and engage other brokers.
Exactly.
And I think, by us coaching other people too, we learn a lot,
We do.
right? We learn
Yes.
about the reasons why they're failing,
Right.
so not to repeat those.
Exactly.
And then when we motivate them to do something and they end up doing it,
Yes.
and it works for them, that solidifies our beliefs, and we essentially follow that trajectory or that path of their
Exactly.
right. So
Exactly.
so it's both of those. And okay, so 100 million last year. What's the target? I know the market's kind of up and down, but what's the target?
Definitely
yeah.
beat that goal this
Beat
year
that
as
goal.
well.
Okay,
About
wonderful.
the market, we're going
Right.
to shift our conversation into the mortgages and market right
Right.
now for the next couple of minutes, because a lot of people have a lot of questions about that. And this is what I say to realtors all the time. There's always a market you can tap into. Doesn't matter we are in a buyer's trending market, seller's market. Just sell what's selling.
Yeah, it's not the market which defines your day. It's you who define your day.
Exactly.
Really. Yeah.
Exactly. So if the market is slow, just start doing rentals, man. You can get pretty handsome pay on rentals as well. When I was brand new, in fact, when I had no real estate clients, that's how I first started.
Right.
I literally went on Marketplace, Facebook. People are already posting their rentals there, right? But they have like poor job on their photography, bad job on their description. So the marketing knowledge that I had, I would just literally offer my help for free. That, hey,
Right.
why don't I help you rent your place? Just pay me half month's rent, which I can do as a real estate agent. Yes, I can do the property
Right.
management part because I don't have the license for that. But I can still help somebody rent out their place by marketing it. And that's literally how I paid my bill in the first couple of months. And each rental would make me like $2,000. And how hard is it to rent a place?
Yeah.
It's not, right?
Yeah,
And
it's
people
not
are busy.
100%.
They don't
Right.
have the time to sit at home 24/7 to do the showings and this and that.
Right.
So I provided them a very high quality service for like $1,500, and people loved it, and they started giving me referrals, and that's how I started getting clients,
Right.
right? So
Right. Yeah. So you can always shift. You can always adjust. If you're a guy who
Exactly.
sell condos
Yeah.
and you see there's a downshift in condos market due to insurance issues, you
Yeah.
can always make a switch to townhouses and
Exactly.
detached. Or if you vice versa, if you're selling luxury real estate,
Yeah.
or you're thinking about selling luxury real estate, but you see there's a foreign buyers ban implemented. Okay,
Right.
well perhaps move on to the lower end of the inventory and you'll be fine. Yeah,
exactly, just being versatile,
exactly.
I would say. And there's an important discussion here about being, tapping into all different markets versus having a niche. I do have a niche, which is helping people upsize, right? But at the same time, I'm not going to stop working if people stop buying because of interest rates, for example, right? I will just find a way around to continue working. So
Right.
it just comes down to you. Talking about interest rates, I know things are changing, right? And I'm not a mortgage broker. You're the expert. When realtors ask me this question, what do you think is going to happen on the next announcement? And I literally just tell them, I don't know.
It's a wild guess. It's anybody's guess.
Right,
Different bankers have different guesses.
right,
Different economists have different guesses. Nobody knows for sure. The only guy who knows for sure is the head of Bank of Canada.
I
I
don't even
forgot
think
his
they know,
name.
man.
Well, that's true. There's a
Yeah.
lot of elements right now happening
Yes,
around the
a lot of
world.
moving pieces.
Yeah, a lot of moving parts, right?
Yeah.
There's the inflation, there's wars, stuff of that nature. There's the
Right.
economy, there's the foreclosure data. So
Right.
they're going to keep many things in mind to
Right.
trying to figure it out.
But put this in perspective, right? It's not permanent.
It's
Right.
not permanent. Absolutely not.
We just are in that healing phase after we got hit with COVID and then super high interest rates. Right now, I think fixed rates are hovering around 4.7, 4.8
Yeah,
somewhere.
we were even getting some of our clients 4.49 for
Listen to
insured
that.
mortgages. Yeah,
And that's 5 years.
5 years. Yes.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's actually not bad at all.
That's not bad at all.
Yeah,
Like
'cause-
even pre-COVID, like
Yeah.
rates were around 3.89, 3.79.
Exactly.
So we're not that far off anymore,
Right.
because the bond yield has come down. So banks have gotten super aggressive with interest rates, even
Right.
though prime is close to 7%, guys.
Correct.
So even if rates were to come down, we may not be able to get these sort of fixed rates in the next 2-3 years.
Right.
Why? Because the bond yield may not go down that much, right?
Correct.
So let's say prime comes down to 5.7, you might be able to get a good variable rate, but normally, in normal rate environments, fixed rates is usually above prime.
Right.
So you're looking at a 6.09, 5.99, 29, 39, depending on where the yield curve might be.
Makes
Those
sense.
sort of rates. So even the rates have dropped like 1% by Bank of Canada. So
Right.
these are super low rates. That's why we're seeing a huge shift in the market in the last 7 to 8 weeks.
You definitely know your business. I talk to a lot of mortgage brokers, and nobody has given me an answer like you have. Obviously, because you're studying international markets and you're seeing what's happening. So, guys, if you're looking for a mortgage, Asim is your guy. One conversation can change your life.
I agree. One
Yeah.
conversation always changes everyone's life.
Right.
One conversation with that TD mortgage specialist
Yeah,
changed my life.
exactly. Now, talking about changing lives, I know you're helping a lot of people, a lot of new brokers coming onto your team. Are you still looking for more people to join your team? What's happening with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we are a small well-oiled machine, but we're not a small machine.
Right.
At the moment, we're bigger than most brokerages, but we're selective who we bring on board. So now, what we had a trainer. We just shifted, made few adjustments in our business, and not only we're providing a trainer now, we're providing a mentor as well
Nice.
to these, people joining in, whether they're experienced and they've done 10, 20, 30 million dollars, and
Right.
they want to get to the next stage, right? So having a mentor who's doing 100 would make a huge difference in their lives.
Right.
So we're engaging. So we're bringing on those brokers at the same time. We're providing them value on the tech side. We've created
Right.
our own CRM systems.
Excellent.
We have created our own, email marketing systems.
Fully
Not
custom.
marketing in the sense, more sort of, automation,
Right.
right? Having, automation in the amount of emails go out when a new inquiry comes in, or follow-up documents,
Right.
text messages, things of that nature. So
Right.
I'm fortunate enough to have a broker who has a
That's
tech
wonderful.
background,
Right.
and he's created some platform which is sold off for a few $1 million,
Wow.
and he's in the mortgage space, so he's my broker, and he's been helping me put that together. So we're providing that value to our brokers at the moment,
Right.
and in the coming days we'll be probably utilizing your service. We're thinking of giving them some lead generation platforms,
Wonderful.
right? So that way they can enhance their business.
One thing I really loved about that presentation that day, which I think your coworker was with you that day. He said he made an open invite to all the other agents that were in the room that we will follow up with your clients. Excellent. That's a genius move, right? Because
Right.
you're using the same principle that we've been talking about this entire podcast, value.
100%.
You're not even asking them, give me your business. You're
Right.
instead giving something to them first that, hey, I know you don't have time to call the leads. Let my brokers do it for you.
100%. So that's the idea, and that stems from when we get a when we have a live file coming from you,
Right.
right? It's our responsibility. You have done the handoff,
Right.
and now it's in our, the balls in our, yard, and we
Right.
need to make sure that we then engage the client on a consistent basis, get everything in, get their financing in order, and that stems from that sort of mindset that
Right.
hey, if you can't work on your leads, it's okay.
Yeah.
Give them to us.
Exactly.
We'll work them for you,
Yeah.
right? That's a
Yeah.
partnership we're willing to make all day long.
That's excellent. You guys are the Lamborghini of this business, man. Talking about that, you own one.
I do own one.
Yeah.
Yes.
What kind do you have?
It's an Aventador.
That's awesome. You still
Yeah.
drive it around during summer?
I still drive
Yeah,
around during
yeah.
summer. Yeah.
Are you into cars, or was
Um,
it just one of your dream cars? And
Someone asked me this question
Yeah,
recently.
yeah.
They said, "Why did you buy an Aventador?"
Yeah.
I said, I guess I had lots of money sitting around, so I just ended up
Need some
buying one."
expenses, right?
But and that's true, right?
Yeah.
So I think I just wanted to, buy a Lamborghini. It was my dream as a,
Yeah.
I'm not a cars guy per se that I know. The all the specs of different cars,
Right.
but more so of like I look at a brand and it was like I
Right.
want to buy this car one day,
Yes.
and that was my dream. So I think Range Rover was my dream. I achieved that.
Yeah.
I could have bought it in my early 20s,
Right.
but I didn't. Just held off because I was, trying
Still
to build
building up
myself
your
up.
wealth, yeah.
And then I bought a Range Rover, bought a Aventador, bought a Phantom,
Yeah.
and
Oh yeah, you have a Rolls Royce too.
yeah,
Yeah.
So now I've bought a Harley, a Fat Boy, and so just
Right.
adding to that collection. And I think I'm probably gonna get the next Aventador, which is just announced.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I don't
The
know
new one
what-
that just
yeah,
they just launched it.
I don't remember the name. See, I'm not a cars guy, but I
Fair
just love
enough.
collecting
Yeah,
them.
no, it was just as a kid. Now let's go back a couple of years before
Sure.
any of this started, right? Did you have like how they say, like, if you have your goals on a wall somewhere or whatever? Did you do any of visualization stuff, which is now coming true?
I did do those
Yeah.
visualizations. I
Yeah.
think when I saw someone drive by a Lamborghini,
Yeah.
again, it was that mindset. What
Right.
is this guy doing?
Correct.
For him to be driving that car, and sort of like, how can I get there? Right.
Right.
And so I think, that was sort of my visualization all the time.
Right.
Just sort of asking myself
Yeah.
about people and be thinking that, wow, I really look up to that guy. Good for him.
Right.
But how did he do it? And then how can I get there?
That's the mindset shift. Some people that I talk to, man, and again, these are clients, friends, family, right? They would say things like this instead. This guy doesn't deserve to drive that. I can do better than him. So that's the difference.
Right.
Don't try to do better than him. Try to just do what he's doing first.
Exactly.
Right? Learn.
Exactly.
Learn. Yeah.
Everybody deserves to have whatever they can have.
Exactly,
So
in their
there's,
lives.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely right. So I think I always give props to people for doing well.
Yeah.
Because there's reasons why they have certain things and certain achievements. Because they're different than the rest of us.
Right.
And so first thing, I give props to them whenever I meet them somewhere. I shake their hand, let them know, hey man, I really look up to you.
Right.
And you've done an amazing job. I wish I could be like you one day. And I just
Excellent.
simply tell them that.
Yeah.
And then I self-analyze.
Right. So
yeah.
work hard in silence and let Lamborghinis make the noise.
Exactly, yeah.
Right. So the new one is coming next. I would love to tour your cars one day, man.
100%.
Yeah. So we'll do that sometime soon. There's one experience I want to talk about. Then we'll wrap this up. You just picked up a Fat Boy, right? And you said that the service you got from those guys was just unbelievable, right?
Right.
And that's what you're implementing in your business. Anybody that does business with you, you want them to have a unbelievable service.
Oh.
Talk about that experience.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess we went to one Harley dealership.
Yeah.
And we were ready to buy. I took a bunch of my team members. We
Right.
said we're going to buy all together.
Yeah.
Because we believe in, having fun together.
Mm-hmm.
So we literally almost ordered 5 Fat Boys right on the dot.
Wow.
Right. And so I had a buddy who learned about it, and he's part of a bikers group. So he
Right.
told me to go to another Harley dealership. I don't like doing that to businesses.
Right.
Because I already sort of, made my mind to purchase from this dealership, even though it was only a 10, 15-minute conversation, and I was just there.
Right.
Right. So I said, okay, I'm going to look into it. So over the weekend, he called me up and he said, let's go. I'll drive you there.
Yeah.
We ended up going there, and wow.
Yeah.
Boy, wow. Like, these guys were on another level of service.
Right.
Like, I mean, yeah, they'll bend the rules for their clients, right?
Wow.
Like, and bending the rules might be, hey, can you add this light to the bike? Okay, it's $69, but don't worry, we
These
got your back.
small things is what makes a difference,
100%, man. It
right?
wasn't like I couldn't afford that $60 or so, or I was asking them for a bargain. I
Right?
didn't even care, to
Yeah.
be honest. I would
Yeah.
have paid for that,
Yeah, it's
right?
$60. Yeah.
But they know the. I think at the end of the day, you got to know the client you're dealing with,
Yes.
right? And they knew the client they're dealing with and how much, so they're just trying to do everything they can to make sure that they provide excellent service, be
Right.
available. Every time we called, we never had to wait, till the next day.
Right.
Right away, we'll have someone on the phone.
Yeah.
And that was the issue. We were still contemplating because we had already sort of semi-committed to
Right.
the original dealership.
Right.
But this was the only reason. They beat them
Service
over
over
service,
sales.
100%.
Service over sales. So that's $60, $70, whatever discount they gave you. You're talking about them today. And I'm sure you're going to share this story with other people as they ask you about this.
Exactly.
They're going to get so much more business.
Oh, they
out of
already have.
just-
They already
There
have.
you
We've
go.
ordered a couple of more fat boys from
There you
them.
go.
Yeah.
Just because of the $70.
100%. And we
right?
might be sending one or two more people there.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right? And if I ever look into that, I'm going to call you which dealership was that.
Exactly.
Right? So this is the magic of giving unbelievable service. People
Right,
come back
right.
to you.
It has to be unbelievable, guys.
Yeah.
You got to beat the guy next to you. I tell you,
Be better.
Be better, right? If someone calls me and they say, hey, I've talked to 2 or 3 people out there
Yeah.
you're looking for mortgage needs,
Yes.
and they're calling me, that means their service needs were not met, right?
Exactly.
So, and then I ask myself, can I, am I going to be, and it's not that I'm going to bend over backwards, but it's more so, can I, provide service and, sort of win them over, right? And
Right.
we always do that because I always ask myself, who's going to, you got to act like, you got to be a shark. I know
Exactly.
it's wrong, it's not a terminology some broker people want to use, but at the end of the day,
Reality, man.
yeah,
It-
it's
it
a
is the
reality,
reality,
right?
yeah.
You got to be able to take your piece of the pie by being better
Exactly.
than everybody else.
Exactly. I have a good story to share, very brief one. Then I have one more question, and we'll wrap this up. That story is coming from this story that you just shared right now. I ended up helping a buyer who was working with a different agent, and they did like 2-3 showings, no commitments right now. And the buyer called me. He came into my system through an online ad, right?
Right.
And he asked me, bro, I do not drive. My realtor that I'm working with, I asked him for a favor just once. Can you pick me up and give me a ride to the showing? He goes, I'm too busy for that. You either meet me there or it's okay.
Wow.
We'll reschedule the showing.
Wow.
I told him, if you don't have a contract, right, I don't want to overstep this guy's toes, whoever this guy is. Don't even tell me who this guy is. But I will pick you up, give you a ride. You can do the showing with that guy. No problem. I'm going to be in the area anyways, right? And this guy goes, bro, forget about him. I'll write this contract with you, right? First time I met him, picked him up, grabbed a coffee, took him to the showing, and I even gave him the option. I'm just going to be in the area anyways. I'll just give you a ride, man. It's okay.
Right.
I'm going to be there anyways, right? How is it going to hurt me? Picking
Right.
you up and dropping you off, 5-minute radius. He goes, that's why I'm doing business with you. Not because you gave me a ride, because you understood my need,
Exactly.
right? And it was raining that day, so I could
Right.
understand why he
Right. You and
asked for a favor.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you have to,
Yeah.
you have to go to those sort of miles to provide service if you want to be better than the rest.
Exactly.
You can't be, and these days I know, back in the days the corporate culture used to be these are the times we work.
Yeah.
This our mindset. Can't do anything for you.
Yeah.
If you want to take our service, take it. If not,
Or
F
leave it.
off.
Yeah.
That mindset has gone long gone. Look at Amazon models, right?
Yes.
Look how they will bend over backwards to trying to provide service.
Exactly.
Provide you the product within the same day. You want to do a return,
That's
no
the
hassle,
secret.
nothing. That's a secret sauce.
Yeah.
Right. And I remember in my early days, just like the story you shared, there's a lady who called me out of Africa.
Yeah.
And she had a
Africa,
home.
wow, wild.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
she was that was her back home, so she was
Right.
traveling back there. She owned a home here in Coquitlam, and she was wanting to do a refinance.
Right.
So took on the app, and she tells me she's coming back next week.
Yeah.
She comes here, and it was snowing that day.
Right.
So I think it was like December 20th or 21st, and she calls me and says, Asim, where's your office? Because she had to come drop off some documents.
Right.
And I gave her the address. She said, okay, it's going to take me 2.5 hours. I'll be on a bus, so I'll meet you around 5:30.
Right.
I said, you're going to take a bus in this snow?
Yeah.
And she said, yeah. And I said, it's okay. You know what? I'm going to be done around 5:30.
Right.
I'll drive to Coquitlam,
Excellent.
and I'll, pick up the documents from you.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
all
That's all it took.
her son was, persuading her to go to someone else he knew.
Yeah.
But the moment, and I just did it out of humanity, right?
Correct.
Just thinking about a person, someone who's in their 50s,
Right.
are going to take buses to come to me, and just drove there, took the documents, did her mortgage and did her son's mortgage
Yeah, there you
after,
go.
right after. Yeah,
See, so the small things is the small things that make difference and make big things bigger,
exactly.
right? So
Yeah.
start small, just be genuine, just be yourself, be just be who you are, and just
Right.
try to help people out, right? And everything follows along. Last question, because I know you're a super busy guy. How do you manage work-life balance?
Yeah, good question. I think I have an amazing team. I talk about my team a lot.
Yeah,
I have
and the team is right here behind us, actually.
100%. So
Yeah.
I have really amazing people in my team. My broker relation person to my, to the brokers within the brokerage who are willing to mentor other people.
Right.
To my underwriters. I have really amazing people right next to me. We grow together.
Yeah.
We know each other inside out. We help each other out, and I think that's the secret sauce.
Yeah.
That I'm able to do everything,
Right.
and it's just my team, man. There's nothing more.
That's what's behind it. It's, I don't know who said this, but there's a quote out there. If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's where the work-life balance comes from. People take care of you when you need them to take care of things.
Exactly. Yeah. I can offload at any point. I remember in the early days, I wanted to do everything on my own. This
Yes.
was the mindset we all have.
All these people, even
Right.
myself, guilty,
Right.
charged, right? I want to do my own marketing. I want to do my own editing. I
Nobody
wanna
can
my
do
own
better
calling.
than me.
That
We
was the
had
mindset.
Yeah.
But then when you come into this, the ad formula, I call it automation, delegation, and duplication. Automate the things that can be automated. Yeah, they won't be perfect, but you can always supervise and make them better, right?
Right.
Delegate the things that can't be automated but can be outsourced, for example. And then whatever's working, just duplicate that.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, and I agree with you there. And I think it came down to nobody can do better than me.
Yeah.
As we were talking about it. But at some point, I just took a vacation and I told my team, I said, guys, I'm going to be away. Am I going to have to be wired into my office
Yeah.
just like I used to? They said, no, boss, you go enjoy. And I literally turned off my phone. And I think within those 2 weeks, the office function, new clients came in,
Just like
intakes
normal
happened,
routine, right?
normal routine, nothing.
Yeah.
And the business functioned just the way I was there. And
Right.
from that point on, I just never had to worry. So now I think, I work like some days 3-4 hours a day.
Right.
Some days I just call a day off, and some
Yeah.
days I'm working 8-10 hours a day.
Exactly.
So it all depends on the energy, vibe, needs of my business.
Right. No, that's excellent. One last tip, if you were to give to all the viewers that are watching us today, what would that be? If this is for people that are already in the business or wanting to join the business, what's that one piece of advice that you could have given yourself maybe 5 years ago?
Right. So I think we touched upon that. It's more so of, being passionate about what you do.
Right.
I think I could not have given that advice to myself because I was more passionate than most people,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I was knocking on doors.
Yes.
Right. This is what realtors do.
Yep.
I heard, but I thought, I asked to myself, if realtors can knock on doors and
Why
get
can't I?
listings,
Yeah.
why can't I?
Yeah.
And let me tell you, 8 out of 10 doors I knocked,
Yeah.
I picked up applications or I built relationships.
Interesting.
Those people came back 6 months, 12 months later.
Yeah.
So it wasn't it wasn't a lost cause.
Right.
So being passionate about what you do,
Right.
if you didn't have exposure, that's fine. Be passionate. The exposure will come along. If you don't have the capital, got to keep that job. Fair enough. Keep it.
Yeah,
The
balance
exposure,
things off. Yeah.
balance them for now, but dive right in as soon as you can. But be passionate about what you do and believe in yourself. Can't live without that, no matter what.
Absolutely. Asim, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
We have a lot more to talk about. We'll just keep that for our second session.
Yeah.
Right.
Look
Thank you
forward
again
to
for
it,
your
man.
time. And I hope you guys enjoyed watching this. Asim's information will be linked everywhere if you need to reach out to him. If you need to reach out to me, my information will be right here as well. Hopefully, we talked about a couple things that helped you in some form. Or if it didn't, let us know what we can talk about next. So then we can do a round 2 of this.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to round 2.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for watching.
Thank